The lonely weapon. The armor drifted through the void, cold and unwanted. It had once been revered, a living relic forged in the dying stars of the Valari Imperium, crafted not just to protect, but to choose. Aegis, they had named it. It was sentient, selective, and utterly unforgiving. Over the centuries, hundreds of warriors, Zarek bloodlords, Thali shadowmancers, imperial judges, had attempted to wear it. All had failed. Some were consumed. Others rejected, so violently their bodies burned to ash. The armor sought something it could not define. Not just strength, not just intelligence. Something more. And so it waited. Now, Aegis descended silently onto the war-scarred moon of Scar 4. It was not a planet anymore, just a graveyard of machines and bones, where the ground oozed chemical sludge and the sky hung heavy with red dust. A battle had raged here 5 years ago between the Zarn Dominion and a fragile human colony force. The humans had lost, mostly. What remained were scraps, wreckage, and one signal. Faint, human, alive. The armor followed it like a predator. Mason Ridge crouched in the shadow of a broken walker tank, welding gear in hand, and grease smudged across his cheeks. He looked 35, but felt 80. Too many close calls, too many meals of synthetic sludge, and too many memories he didn't want. The ex-Marine had outlived his squad, outlived the war, and somehow outlived the world. He scavenged to survive, picking apart alien wrecks and old Earth tech. Sellable components went to smugglers. The rest he kept to fix his battered shelter hidden in a collapsed bunker. Today, he wasn't alone. He'd noticed the shape in the sky earlier, sleek, dark, and gliding without sound. Not Dominion tech, not human, something older. He'd felt in his gut. His instincts hadn't dulled, and right now they screamed run. Mason tucked the power cell he'd scavenged into his pack and stood. Time to go, but it was already there. A shape moved from behind a pillar of rusted metal. A humanoid silhouette wrapped in obsidian plating, its surface alive with shifting patterns like black fire. It hovered above the ground, soundless. No visible weapons, but it radiated a pressure that made Mason's skin prickle. "What the hell?" he muttered, drawing his pistol. The figure didn't attack. Instead, it spoke. Not in words, but directly into his mind. "You do not cower." Mason froze. The voice was ancient, calm, deep. It felt like it came from the bones of the earth. "What are you?" he said aloud, stepping back. "I am Aegis. I am the last of the Valari. I have searched across stars. I have known kings and killers. They were all unworthy. And you think I'm what? Better?" Mason scoffed, keeping his weapon raised. "You are flawed, wounded, unrefined, but you do not surrender." A blast rocked the ground behind Mason. A Dominion scout drone had found him. 2 more zipped overhead, targeting lasers locking on. Not the time for a chat. Mason shouted, firing at the nearest drone. His shots were accurate, but not enough. He ducked behind the walker tank again, heart pounding. The armor hovered beside him. "Accept me." What does that mean? Merge. Survive. Fight. The drones circled closer. Mason's pistol clicked. Empty. He had a choice. Die alone on this forgotten moon, or trust the thing that spoke like thunder and promised salvation. He looked at the armor. "All right, you ancient bastard. Let's see what you've got." He reached out. The armor responded instantly, unraveling in black tendrils and wrapping around his body with shocking speed. Pain seared through him, like being dipped in fire and ice all at once. He screamed, but didn't let go. And then clarity. Mason stood tall, the armor now fused to him. He felt everything. Wind patterns, heat signatures, structural weaknesses in the drone's metal frames. The world slowed, sharpened. The drones attacked. He moved like lightning. With a thought, a blade extended from his arm, cleaving one drone in half. He leapt, 30 feet, kicking another into the remains of a crashed skimmer. The third tried to flee. He raised his hand. A pulse of energy launched forward and disintegrated at midair. Silence returned. Mason looked at his hands, then at the black armor that pulsed with strange light. Okay, that was badass. The voice echoed within him again, quieter now, almost reverent. You are not like the others. Bond of fire and flesh. The moon was quiet again, but nothing felt the same. Mason stood among the wreckage, his chest heaving, the black armor clinging to his body like a second skin. It shimmered faintly under the blood-red sky, adjusting constantly, sealing wounds, adapting to his breath, syncing with his heartbeat. "You've stabilized," the voice inside him said. "I feel like I just swallowed a star," Mason muttered, staggering backward and slumping against a slab of broken metal. "You always come in that hot? Or is this some weird initiation thing?" "No previous host has reached full integration," Aegis replied. "You are the first." Mason wiped sweat from his brow, but the armor absorbed it before it hit the ground. "Congratulations to me, I guess." He felt alive, not just physically. His senses had sharpened. He could hear the flutter of ash across metal 100 meters away. Smell plasma residue from the drones. Feel the microfractures in the earth below him. But it wasn't just physical. Something else had changed. Memories that weren't his flickered at the edges of his thoughts. Flashes of battles under triple moons. Ancient alien duels where empires rose and fell in the space of a breath. A moment of silence above a planet turned to glass. "You're full of ghosts," Mason said quietly. "I am history." Mason frowned. "Why me? Why now?" Aegis paused, as if weighing the answer. "You were not chosen. You chose me." They moved through the wasteland together, deeper into the broken fields of war debris. Mason needed shelter and answers. The armor responded instinctively, forming a filtration mask when the air grew toxic, hardening around his feet for traction in the soft, poisoned soil. "Your body is compatible," Aegis explained as they walked. "But more than that, you do not seek to control me, nor do you fear me." "I'm too damn tired to be afraid," Mason muttered. "Besides, I've seen worse." "Have you?" Mason thought of the Dominion slaughtering his squad, of his CEO bleeding out while the evac shuttle left them behind, of the silence afterward, the years spent picking through bones just to survive. "Yet," he said, "I have." They reached the edge of a collapsed human bunker, Mason's old hideout. Rusted metal, reinforced walls, and a thick door covered in scratches and blast marks. The last remnant of his past life. The armor seemed to regard it. "This place was important to you. It was home. After the war, anyway." Inside, Mason dropped his scavenge gear and collapsed into a makeshift chair made from a broken cockpit. The armor melted away from his face, forming a sleek collar around his neck and chest, still pulsing faintly. He took a deep breath. "So what now?" "They will come." "Who?" "Everyone. I activated when you accepted me. My signal is no longer hidden. There are empires who would trade worlds for what you now wear." Mason grimaced. "Of course. Can't even get a break after bonding with a damn space god suit. I'm not a god. I'm a weapon. But I'm not your master. Nor are you mine." Mason looked up at the dark ceiling. "So what does that make us?" "Allies." A pause. "Perhaps something more." Mason blinked. "Something more?" The armor's voice was quieter now, almost hesitant. "You are the first to endure the full interface. Already, your biology is altering. You will age slower, heal faster. Your mind is adapting to my neural patterns. We are becoming linked. So I'm stuck with you? Only if you choose to be." Mason leaned back, arms crossed. "Could have used you a few years ago. You were not ready then. And I am now." "Yes." Outside, the night sky burned with faint blue lights, ships dropping into orbit. They weren't human. Mason stood, eyes narrowing. "They found us. Then let us show them what we are." Aegis flowed over him again like a wave, forming a battle-ready configuration without a word. Armored plates clicked into place, weapons integrated into his limbs, his vision sharpening as the heads-up display lit up with incoming signals. Mason cracked his neck and grinned. "You wanted someone who wouldn't surrender?" "Yes." "Good. Because I don't run anymore." The hunter and the hunted. The sky above Scar 4 rippled with fire. Ships descended, sleek Dominion raiders, scavenger frigates, and one obsidian cruiser bearing no known markings. All were drawn by a single pulse, the activation of Aegis. Inside his bunker, Mason watched the sensor readings scroll across the armor's HUD. Heat signatures, EM flares, gravity distortions. Each marked a new threat dropping from orbit. 13 vessels, Aegis reported. 5 are deploying ground teams. At least 2 bounty class. Fantastic, Mason muttered. Didn't even get breakfast. Prepare. You're not alone anymore. They came in waves. The first to arrive were low-tier scavenger mercs, thin-bodied Gelics with plasma rifles and twitchy nerves. Mason cut through them like wind through dry leaves. The armor moved with him, not for him. Every step, every strike was a dance they performed together. Mason no longer thought in terms of muscle or motion. He just willed, and Aegis answered. He dashed across the field, his armored legs propelling him forward faster than any human could run. A mounted cannon fired from the hill. Aegis threw up a barrier, absorbing the blast and redirecting it in a beam of molten energy. The gunner vaporized. More mercs arrived, better armed, better trained. They surrounded the bunker. Mason fought like a storm. His arm morphed into a blade, cutting through armor and bone alike. He twisted, slammed a shockwave into the ground, sending enemies flying. His body sang with power, but fatigue crept in at the edges. You are pushing beyond safe strain levels, Aegis warned. Can't let them get a signal out, Mason replied, panting. He leapt again, tearing through a unit of Dominion commandos, then stood amidst the wreckage, chest heaving, armor scorched but still upright. They were scouts, Aegis said grimly. Now the real one comes. Mason turned to the sky as the final ship landed. It was different, larger, quieter. The hull was lined with bone-etched symbols and ancient kill marks. From its ramp descended a towering figure, wrapped in flexible black armor similar to Aegis, but crude, incomplete. A jagged greatsword hung across his back. His eyes glowed amber through a predator's mask. Who the hell is that? Mason muttered. Virith the Exile, Aegis said. The name chilled Mason. A former contender. He once wore part of me. A failed bonding. He doesn't look like he's let go. No, he has hunted me across systems. Believes the armor is his birthright. Virith stepped forward, dragging his blade through the ash as sparks danced beneath his boots. He spoke, his voice metallic and deep. You're the one, he growled. You bonded with my destiny? Mason stood his ground. Didn't see your name on it. Virith's mask retracted, revealing a scarred, inhuman face. Like something once noble, now broken by rage. I burned 100 worlds chasing that armor. Fused half of it to my spine. I gave everything. And it still said no, Mason said flatly. Virith snarled and charged. Their clash shook the cratered earth. Metal screamed against metal. Shockwaves rippled through the sand as their blades met. Virith was bigger, stronger, and fueled by obsession. Mason was faster, sharper, guided by Aegis, every move a perfect response. But Virith's armor had been built for this. Mid-fight, he activated an ancient failsafe, one only Aegis recognized. Mason's body convulsed. The armor sparked and locked, systems glitching. Pain flared through his nerves. He's overriding me. Aegis gasped. A backdoor. From before. Virith roared and slammed Mason into the ground. I told them I was worthy, he shouted, driving his blade toward Mason's chest. But they chose you. Why? Mason gritted his teeth as the sword pushed closer. The armor was cracking. Aegis screamed in his mind, faltering. Because, Mason growled, eyes burning, I never wanted the power. I just needed to survive. He reached deep, not into the armor, but himself. Rage, pain, memory. He fed it into Aegis like fuel into a fire. Then burn this out of me if you have to. But we're not dying here. A pulse erupted. Aegis flared with light. Rebooted, reformed, reborn. Virith staggered back as Mason rose. His armor was sleeker now, glowing with deep violet veins of energy, humming like a living storm. Aegis spoke once more, but not to Mason this time. You were never worthy, Virith. He is worthy. Virith screamed and charged again. Mason met him head-on. The two titans collided in a flash of violet and red, the shockwave flattening twisted wreckage around them. Mason moved like lightning, faster now, more fluid, his new form no longer just armor. It was symbiosis. Aegis wasn't guiding him anymore. They were moving as one. Virith swung his greatsword in a brutal arc. Mason ducked under it, his arm forming a searing plasma edge. He slashed upward, leaving a glowing line across Virith's torso. Sparks and blood flew. His override code is gone. Aegis reported. We are free. Good. Mason muttered. Now let's finish this. Virith stumbled back, panting, armor flickering with damage. You think you've earned it? He spat. You're just a scavenger. Trash with a toy. I didn't earn this, Mason said, stepping forward, his voice calm. I survived it, and I chose not to become like you. Virith roared in fury and slammed his fists into the ground. A shockwave erupted, throwing Mason back. The exiled warrior lunged, blade aimed at Mason's core. But this time, Mason didn't block. He sidestepped and struck, driving his energy blade straight through Virith's side. Virith gasped, eyes wide. Mason didn't stop. He twisted the blade, then pulled it free in one smooth motion. The corrupted armor flared, then collapsed. Virith fell to his knees. It should have been me. It never was, Mason said quietly. Aegis hummed low in agreement. He sought to dominate. You sought to endure. Virith's body slumped forward, lifeless. Silence returned to Scar 4. Mason stood still, staring at the fallen warrior. Wind howled over the desolate battlefield, stirring ash and shattered metal. Overhead, the remaining ships scattered, retreating now that their prize was gone or too costly to claim. Let them run, Mason said, wiping blood from his lip. They'll be back. Others too. Yes, Aegis replied. But next time, we will not be hiding. Mason looked down at his hands, black and gold armor woven into his skin. Not a prison, not a gift, a choice. What happens to me now? He asked. Am I still human? A pause. Then, you are more. Yeah. Mason exhaled. I figured. He returned to the bunker one last time. Not as a hiding place now, but a goodbye. He packed what little he needed, planted a signal beacon for any other survivors, and burned what couldn't be left behind. Hours later, Mason stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the scarred valley. The stars above shimmered like ancient eyes. A small, dormant Dominion Scout craft lay buried in the rock nearby, barely operational, but salvageable. He approached it, dragging Virith's sword behind him. I'll fix it, he muttered. Probably. Hopefully. There are other worlds, Aegis said. Other weapons. Other hunters. They will seek us. They'll find me ready. He stared up at the stars again. Let's see what else this galaxy's hiding. Together, Mason grinned. You're not getting rid of me that easy. He climbed into the cockpit. The ship groaned to life, sputtering, then stabilizing as Aegis patched its power systems with ease. Thrusters ignited. As the ship rose from the moon's surface, Mason looked back once, at the battlefield, the ash, the past. Then he turned away. Far across the galaxy, sensors flared in a dozen systems. Unregistered energy spikes. Movement on long-dead frequencies. Old empires stirred. The sentient armor of the Valari had returned, and it had chosen a human. But this time, the galaxy wouldn't face a weapon controlled by kings or monsters. It would face a man who refused to fall,